Welcome everyone to this ClickShare summer release webinar. We're hosting you today from sunny Kortrijk in Belgium. Yes, summer has finally arrived in Belgium, just in time to share with you the great new features and improvements the ClickShare team has been working on. My name is Oliver. I'm joined here today by Gauthier and Peter, who will go in detail on how we're enhancing the end user experience, how we're making the life easier for admins, and finally, how your ClickShare rooms are now also part of Microsoft shared spaces and all the exciting opportunities this brings. But before we jump into the details, I'd like to point out that we'll reserve time to reply to any questions at the end of the webinar. So feel free to type your questions in the Q&A box, and you can find that in the Q&A icon at the bottom of your Zoom window. So, what's new in this summer release? Well, first and foremost, on the end user experience, we have some great features and improvements on the ClickShare bars, of which is the dual screen setups. Next to that, on the app side, we have a seamless update mechanism we've been implementing, and the gradual phase out is being accelerated by implementing the new app as a default experience also for button users. We're also making the admin's life easier by integrating the service flows in XMS Cloud. We're improving base unit registration and, of course, the additional security features like the option to disable local view. Also, the admins can prepare that phase out of the old app with some options in the MSI deployment and preparations on Windows driver deployment. And then lastly, we'll talk about that ClickShare integration and part of the Microsoft Shared Spaces initiative. We'll explain how shared spaces for admins and end users experience is improved and how a ClickShare room can be part of that shared space. So, without further ado, I'll pass the hand to Gauthier, who will tell us more about the enhanced end user experience.
Thank you, Oliver. Welcome as well from my side. I will guide you through the enhanced end user experience and the features and capabilities we're introducing in these new firmware releases to really improve the experience your end users will have with ClickShare. On the ClickShare bar, we are adding a number of highly anticipated capabilities, such as the dual display support on the ClickShare bar Pro. This was not possible up until now, but with the 2.20 summer release, this is finally possible on your ClickShare bar Pro, of course. All bars will now be able to play stereo sound when you're playing content on the meeting room screen. Note that this will be enabled for screen content only, but it really brings another level to your presentation and a certain richness to what you present on screen. Next to this, Miracast capabilities have been enabled on the ClickShare bars, which really brings you that simplicity and ease of use and enables you to share in any way that you prefer in the meeting room. And then last but not least, with the ClickShare bar, you will now also find the remote control inside the ClickShare app, which is included in the firmware of the ClickShare bar. It allows you to change a number of settings, such as the framing mode, or to manually control the PTZ of your camera, such as the pan, zoom, and tilt. And you can also control the mute state of the bar. All of this accessible in the ClickShare app that you would launch from the ClickShare button and easily accessible by pressing the small button on the ClickShare button. Looking at the ClickShare app, for those who have installed the desktop application on their PC, when the ClickShare app is updating in the past, that would be slightly intrusive as you would have to update the app before you could continue to use it. We are now adding the option to postpone this installation and this update so that you can do it when it is more suitable to you and not in the middle of your presentation. Speaking about the ClickShare app, we've talked about this in the latest ClickShare webinar, or the latest release that this would come. We are now officially making the new ClickShare app, which is mainly the new user interface, the official user interface for the ClickShare app. The old ClickShare app, or at least the user interface, will be phased out. You will already no longer find it as a default when you install it on your PC, and it will also no longer be the default view on the ClickShare button app. So with the 2.20 firmware release, your end users will find new user interface, which is optimized and more intuitive to use, especially for all these advanced capabilities, such as window sharing versus full screen sharing. It is also making things easier and faster to connect. It is guiding the participants through the different steps to take to connect and share successfully in the meeting room. All of this ensures a unified, streamlined experience across all ClickShare units, all ClickShare models, and for all of your users, of course. Noting that the old app, which is the old user interface, will go end of life by Q3. By then, you can still toggle to the old app by or through the settings in the ClickShare. If you don't want this, or if you want to postpone this a little bit longer, note that through the MSI, you can actually control the version that is installed on your user's PC. And this is a way to get a little bit more time to prepare if you really need it. But all in all, we're very excited by this move. We've been testing and validating this user interface for a long, long time. And we're very happy to see that all of our users have found this one to be way more intuitive, much easier to use, and why we are also deploying it to the broader public. With this, I am now going to hand over the word to my colleague Peter, who's going to tell you everything about making the life of the IT admin easier.
Thank you, Gauthier. Also welcome from my side. I will guide you through the advancements we made on the admin experience. First, we have worked to streamline the service flow with XMS Cloud. So from now, it will be possible to launch a service ticket directly from XMS Cloud, so you don't need to navigate manually via your browser to the service portal and enter all the details yourself. ClickShare XMS Cloud will help you with that. You will see that from the 2.20 release that there will be a new menu option in the top menu. So if you click on your user icon, you will see that there will be an option to log a support ticket. That will enable opening the service portal immediately on create a new ticket. Of course, if you are talking about a specific base unit that you want to mention in your service ticket, you can navigate to that service ticket in XMS Cloud and then click in the right top on the button log a support ticket. That will also open up the service portal and create a new ticket, but automatically fill in the identifying fields for that base unit. So you don't need to type that yourself manually or copy paste it. You can immediately focus on typing actually what your service ticket is about. Of course, it can be that also you are talking about not one specific base unit, but a selection of base units. This will also be possible if you go to the overview and you select multiple base units. Then in the bulk edit menu below in the right, you will have a button that says log a support ticket, from which all the identifying fields of these base units will automatically be added to the support ticket. Also, when you have a system event that talks about, for example, an error that occurred on a base unit and you want to file a support ticket, there will be a button on that system event to do so. And that will also immediately then include the system event message that is being showed in XMS Cloud to be automatically filled into the description of your service ticket, making it very easy for you to launch that new service ticket. Then next, we have also worked on improving the registration flow with our registration app, which now also supports the iOS tablet. So next to an Android tablet, you can now also use the iOS tablet to scan the QR code of a new base unit that you want to register and onboard in XMS Cloud. When you are onboarding a new device in XMS Cloud that has not come online yet, then in the end of the onboarding, that unit will be waiting in a waiting queue for online onboarding. From the summer release on, you will also have the ability, if you see that there is a unit in that list that should actually have been onboarded into another tenant, to from the waiting queue to immediately transfer that to another tenant. If you would spot that there is a base unit in that waiting list that actually should not be onboarded at all, you can remove it from the list and you don't need to wait until it's fully onboarded. Next, about the ClickShare app functionality local view. The ClickShare functionality local view means that in the ClickShare desktop app, when you are connected to a base unit that you can view from within the application on your laptop, you can view the content that is being showed on the shared display. From the summer release on, if you would like as an admin to disable this feature, you will be able to do that from the web configurator and also from XFS Cloud. So when you go to the base unit and there you select Wi-Fi and network and then services, there you will find a feature toggle where you can toggle the functionality of the local view on and off. When you are using the MSI installer as an admin to roll out the ClickShare app to your users, I can inform you that with the new version of the MSI, there also comes the option of having a preset experience. What do we mean with that? This is actually a bundle of settings that you could already do manually, which we now actually facilitate, making it easy that with one option that you select with the MSI, you immediately get a very good and defined experience. We have defined three sets of experiences for you. The first one is the basic button experience, which means you roll out the ClickShare app and the users, they will have the full button experience. So they start using ClickShare just with the button. The next experience is the smart button experience, which is the same as the basic button experience, but also with the support of our smart meeting flows. And then the third preset experience that you can roll out is a smart app experience, which is similar to the full app experience as you would have today with the new UI that you would roll out to your end users, making all the functionalities of the ClickShare app available to your end users. You see on the bottom of the slide that there's a link to our knowledge base article that describes the technical steps that you would have to do. So the options you have to control that parameter of the MSI installers, you will be able to navigate to that because the slides will be distributed to everyone after the webinar. Also, I want to make a mention of that we are going to roll out advancements of the ClickShare app in a staged manner. That means if there is an update to the ClickShare app, we will first roll that out with a few percentages and then in a few days ramp that up to 10 and 100% after all. What does that mean for you is that actually with that stage rollout, we can very fast detect if there would be any issues, fix that, and then have a minimal impact to our user base. A message for the IT admins, there will be an update for the ClickShare Windows driver launched in July. And why is that important that I already bring this message is because you will need to look that if you have button users that make use of the Windows driver, to make sure that this summer, this is a task for you to make sure that the drivers get updated to the corporate laptops, because from our release in the autumn, it will be needed that everybody that makes use of the Windows driver has the latest firmware, the latest driver installed to be able to use the firmware from our autumn release on. If your users already use the ClickShare application, then the Windows driver is not needed to automatically launch the ClickShare app when you actually plug in the button. More details, you can find that on the ClickShare support pages. And with that, I hand it back to Gauthier, who will tell you more about Microsoft Shared Spaces.
Thank you very much, Peter. Microsoft Share Spaces. Now, what is it and why are we so excited with it? Well, we're very happy to introduce that we are working with Microsoft team on this. And the Share Spaces initiative is something that the Teams team has been working on for, well, a little while already. And it's basically Microsoft's recognition of the way of working that ClickShare has always embodied and put forward, being the BYOD, being your own device, bring your own meeting type of conferencing for meeting rooms. In the past, they were very much centered around MTR. Today, more and more BYOD rooms, BYOD way of working is getting a center stage within the Teams experience. Now, why is the shared spaces initiative important? Well, the Teams client itself is more and more moving towards what we could call a personalized experience, bringing you quite nice capabilities, such as the removal of your background, changing it with an image, enabling to isolate your voice out if you're in a noisy environment, to also make sure that whatever you say receives the transcripts in your name, and if you have certain configurations that you prefer at home or at your desk, that these are remembered and applied each time you enter that space. Now, this is all very nice when you use the Teams client for a personalized experience, but when you use the Teams client to host a meeting inside of a meeting room with multiple people, this is slightly suboptimal from all these capabilities viewpoint. This is why enabling this shared spaces or entering this shared spaces modes basically shifts your Teams client from a personalized experience to a meeting room experience. Today, this means that you will always use the right peripherals, the right audio configuration when you are hosting a meeting inside that room. And there's different other capabilities that Microsoft is enabling in their Teams client, such as things to remove the background blur, voice isolation, and many other items that are currently still on their roadmap. Yes. How do you enter this mode? How do you enable shared spaces when you are in a call or when you are in a meeting room with ClickShare? Well, the flow is very, very easy. Instead of joining the call with computer audio, as you would do from your desk or when joining the call personally, you can now select room audio, and in the list or in the drop-down list from that setup, you will find the ClickShare room speakerphone. This is available and supported in any Teams client version larger than the number that you will find on the slide. But note that this is something that is still work in progress by the Microsoft team, and that we will be working with them on for the future. So this is how to enable this mode. This is what it brings for your end users. Having this shared spaces initiative with Microsoft also enables you to collect more information of what's going on in your meeting rooms. And this is done through the Pro portals, the Teams Rooms Pro portal from Microsoft. In this Pro portal, you will find additional information such as the call quality, but also the type of call, being video enabled or voice only, such as you would have today for your MTR devices. Through calendar information, and especially if you add a resource account to this room, you can see the room utilization based on the calendar information. And then next of all, this tool is optimized to keep an eye on your inventory to make sure that devices are still in the room and still being used. Now, on the side of ClickShare, the end user experience will be enabled and will work with any ClickShare firmware. However, to ensure that you see the right data in the Pro portal, the firmware 2.20 adds a number of capabilities for you to use and enable. Yeah? This is opt-in, so you will need to enable this either through the web configurator of the device or through XMS, and later on you will also be able to apply this through a template. So what did we change exactly? Well, today, if you plug in a ClickShare button and you would use the Teams client would uniquely identify every ClickShare button in the exact same way, which means that in the Pro portal, you would see a single device being used throughout your organization. By enabling the feature that we've added in the 2.20 release, each and every button will expose an identifier of the meeting room. So all buttons in the meeting room will expose the same one, which means that the Teams client can start collecting information on call quality, usage, and so on, and identify the meeting room uniquely so that all information can be shown per meeting room. The neat thing about this is that each and every button will show the same identifier of the room. So when you add buttons, or if buttons go from one meeting room to the other, they will still expose that meeting room information, which makes it very easy to keep the overview and to keep everything there. That was it for first and foremost, the end user experience, the IT admin experiences, and an update on the Shared Spaces initiative. I will now hand over the word to Oliver, who is going to wrap things up for you.
Thank you, Gauthier, and thank you, Peter. Wow, that's some exciting news. The integration with Shared Spaces, I'm sure it will continue to deliver more value for both the users and admins in the future, and we'll see some great things coming there. The dual screen support on the ClickShare Bar Pro is certainly unlocking a great new use case and finally unlocking its full potential. And admins out there, well, logging a ticket with the ClickShare support team has never been easier. I think Peter explained that clearly. On the other hand, you do have some work cut out for yourself. You have to prepare for the phase out of our old app interfaces. And for your button users, don't forget to update the ClickShare Windows driver before the end of September, before our next release, to make sure that they can continue to use the button app, or, and maybe even better, deploy the ClickShare app to all those users to unlock the best possible experience. Now, I'm sure you're all wondering when these exciting new features will become available. Well, first and foremost, the 2.20 firmware will be available as of the second week of July. The latest ClickShare app 4.38 is already available for download on our website, or if you have auto update enabled, will be automatically updated to that version already. And then on XMS Cloud side, those features will be available in the second half of July. So I see we have some questions coming in the Q&A, so we'll take some time to answer those. You'll see the answers pop up in the Q&A box as well. And if you still have some questions, we'll leave the webinar open for another 10 to 15 minutes, so don't hesitate to drop your questions there. And with that, only thing left for me is to thank you and all of you for joining our summer release webinar. I wish you a great day, and we look forward to seeing you back for our autumn release webinar in September. And we all